I'm Heston Blumenthal, and I run one of the best restaurants in the world. I don't do food in an ordinary way. I think food should be fun.
I'm like a kid in a sweet shop, quite literally like a kid in a sweet shop.
A delicious, spectacular adventure with every bite being a delight to the senses.
I want to create meals unlike anything seen before, using inspiration from history and my own unique approach to cooking.
This dessert is sex, drugs and rock and roll on a plate.
Tonight I'm exploring the era of my own childhood, the 1970s. And I'm hoping to turn all my guests into kids again as I reinvent the classic retro foods of my youth.
Ooh, look at that!
Hot noodle didn't taste like this.
I'm a naughty schoolboy on a nostalgic food adventure. So, throw away your cookbooks and please don't try this at home. I want to create an extraordinary feast that pushes the boundaries of gastronomy. For inspiration, I'm looking back into history and using incredible food ideas from the past to create dazzling new dishes. And tonight, it's personal, because I'm taking on the food age that I remember more fondly than any other.
When it comes to food, there's always been one era that I've been totally obsessed with, because it was the age of my childhood, and that is the 1970s.
The 1970s might be remembered as the era of striking miners, power cuts, and unforgivable crimes against fashion. But to a kid like me, it was the golden age of heat waves, chopper bikes and Star Wars. If you were an adult, it might have been a food world of beige drudgery. But if you were a kid, it was a Technicolor wonderland of fab ice lollies and spangled chews, Angel Delight and space dust. I was in heaven.
I have so many vivid food memories from the 70s. So this feast is a great opportunity and challenge to take some of the most memorable food I had when I was a kid and bring it back to life, but in a completely new way. Now, if that's not exciting, I don't know what is.
So I'm going to take my diners on an amazing gastronomic trip through the food delights of my childhood. I might have looked like an angel back then, but believe me, I had a really mischievous side. And I'm going to use all this naughty schoolboy know-how to create a retro menu bursting with playful pranks and 70s surprises. And yes, school dinner will be on the menu. My 6 guests have no idea what's in store for them.
The 70s is just all about nostalgia. So whether it's chopper bikes or, you know, space hoppers or Kevin Keegan's curly hair and superstars, it's just got some really, really good memories.
When I think of 70s food, I think of the start of sort of instant food like pot noodles that arrived.
Well, I don't remember much about the 70s because I was too busy partying all the time. It'd be nice to go back and see what I missed.
It's going to be way out there. It's going to be out there in the stratosphere. It'll be like being on a rock and roll trip.
I've even recreated my old school room circa 1976, so my guests can properly sample my retro delights. And I won't be tolerating any funny business behind the bike sheds. So for tonight's nostalgia-packed menu, I'm turning my childhood guilty secret pot noodle into a fine dining experience, taking on the dreaded 1970s school dinner and attempting to create the world's first flying dessert. It's going to be quite a ride. So on with the feast, and I'm kicking things off with my fondest childhood food memory.
When I think of the 1970s, the first things that spring to mind are long hot summers and school holidays, and that reminds me of ice lollies.
The summer of 1976 was so hot, I remember the tarmac on my road melting. Kids like me desperately needed to cool down, and ice lollies were the only way to do it. Sales of childhood favourites like Fabs, Mini Milks and Zooms went through the roof. So, I'm going to recreate that wonderful summer of 1976 memory for my guests by serving up gourmet versions of my 3 all-time favourite boyhood lollies. But ever the kid prankster, I've got a little trick up my sleeve.
So these are ice lollies with a twist. The twist is they're all based on 1970s savoury canapes.
So here's my first schoolboy trick. I'm going to make a mini version of a Tangled Twister lolly, that wonderful green and white striped ice with a surprise brightly coloured core. But instead of ice cream, I'm using the classic 70s combination, smoked salmon and avocado.
So here, we've got some salmon fillet that I've smoked in Lapsang Souchong tea.
I'm rolling my tea smoked salmon into a tube to form the orange core for my twister.
I'm just going to pop these in the fridge just to firm them up for about half an hour. While that's setting up, I need to make the outside of my twister. So the green and white band is going to run around the outside of this salmon.
I pipe alternating layers of 70s favourites, avocado mousse and horseradish cream.
So there's the salmon core for my twister. I'm now just going to give it a very quick sear on the stove. I want to just firm the fish up. And now for the fun part.
I roll it up and plug the top with a dab of the horseradish mix.
So here is my smoked salmon, avocado and horseradish 1970s twister. Next is, when I think of growing up in the 70s in London, summer holidays, Hyde Park, there's one lolly that just comes to mind above all others, and that is Zoom.
So next I'm going to make a classic Zoom lolly, that joyous three-coloured rocket that was the ultimate after-school treat. But I'm basing mine on that 70s favourite savoury dish, Waldorf salad. The key ingredients in a Waldorf salad, celery, apples and walnuts, will form the different coloured bands of my Zoom lolly.
So I'm just making a walnut milk, and this will form the first layer of the lolly.
I strain and pipette my walnut mixture into a mould to form the first layer. It's then set in the freezer.
Okay, so while my walnut layer is setting, we're going to make the next layer. This is the apple one. So here, I've got some red apples. Pop them into a juicer.
To give my lolly a nice artificial red colour, I'm adding beetroot essence.
I think the colours are so important. Think about all kids' sweets, not chocolate-based ones, but the other ones. It's all really bright, garish colours. And that was as important as anything else. So there's one more thing I want to add to this apple juice, and that's this. It's malic acid. Malic acid is the acid that you find in apples. I want to accentuate the fresh apple character.
While my apple layer is setting in the fridge, I create the final Waldorf layer from juiced celery and grapes, to which I add plant chlorophyll to enhance the colour.
Now, that is what I call garish 1970s green. Here it is, my Waldorf salad Zoom ice lolly. Basically, it's 1970s Waldorf salad on a stick.
And to complete the set, a savoury Wall's feast, made from retro-tastic chicken liver pate, fig and red wine compote, dipped in caramelised almonds and cocoa nibs. So here they are, smoked salmon, avocado and horseradish twister, chicken liver and fig compote feast, Waldorf salad Zoom. 3 summer memories with my playful schoolboy twist. But what will my guests make of my lolly trickery? I'll be watching nervously from the kitchen to find out.
Oh, yeah!
There we go.
Ah, thank you.
What's it taste of?
I'm trying to work it out.
This is savoury.
What good idea.
Nobody's ever done savoury lollies. We could have a savoury lolly.
I like that.
What's the red?
Apple.
Apple, probably, yeah.
Yeah, celery.
Waldorf salad. It had to go to celery and apples. What's the top?
Walnut, the tip. It's very refreshing. With a hint of walnut at the end.
They picked up all the layers in the rocket, the celery, the walnut apple. Seems to be going down pretty well.
Just fling it.
There you go.
It's really, yeah, it does look
That's fantastic.
Oh, my word. That is amazing.
They like the rocket, but the twist has gone down even better.
We want more. We want more.
Oh, this tastes meaty or...
Chicken liver pate.
Pate.
Oh, yeah.
That is amazing. This is absolutely gorgeous, isn't it?
It's incredibly bizarre to eat chicken liver off a lolly. Do you feel the lolly has not been pushed to its real limits until this moment?
Just reminds me of summer, like summer of '76 when I was a kid. It was a great year.
So my sneaky, savoury lollies have sent me to the top of the class. But next, I'm taking on one of the biggest challenges of my career, to turn pot noodle into a true gastronomic wonder. I'm using all my skills of creativity and imagination to create a once-in-a-lifetime feast. This week, I'm indulging the food prankster kid in me as I take inspiration from the fantastic age of my own childhood, the 1970s.
I didn't grow up eating lobster and caviar when I was a kid. In fact, some of the foods I loved the most were the processed ones, like Smash and Angel Delight. And the fact that all you had to do was pour over hot water or milk and these dishes would literally come alive in front of your very eyes, that was totally magical.
The 1970s saw an explosion in labour-saving instant foods as women broke free from the shackles of the kitchen and went to work. Angel Delight, Smash and Bachelor's Cuppa Soups, not to mention Nesquik and Bird's Dream topping, were just a revelation. This was the appliance of science to food in a way no one had seen before, and it completely captivated my imagination.
And there's one 70s instant food that I remember more than any other because it had all of that magic, if maybe not the taste. And that, believe it or not, was pot noodle.
I never thought I'd say it, but I'm a 3 Michelin-starred chef on a mission to reinvent pot noodle. But before I can even begin to do that, I need to get to the bottom of just why it made such a big impression on me as a kid. So, I'm going on a school field trip.
I'm off to the pot noodle factory and I'm hoping that they can help me relive my very first 1970s pot noodle memory.
And the only way I can do that is to recreate an authentic 1970s pot noodle. I'm hoping Works manager Stephen Lewis can help me.
Is there any way that you can recreate the pot noodle that I would have had in the 70s?
We should be able to maybe make a pot noodle from the past on our current production lines. And
What, you actually think you could remake one of the 70s?
Yeah, I think we can give that a go.
Fantastic. It's not like that now, but the original 1977 pot noodle contained nearly 4 grams of salt and 10 different E numbers. That's just the 1970s taste I'm after.
What we've got is we've got some old design packaging, which we're going to feed into the line now to make your retro pot noodle.
Now that does definitely bring back memories.
The guys here have managed to uncover the exact 1970s recipe. A heady mix of dried glucose syrup, salt, chicken flavouring and E635. A flavour enhancer that in a mix is up to 4 times stronger than pure MSG.
Right, so there is my authentic 1970s pot noodle soup base.
My retro pot goes back onto the factory line for some final processing before the lid is sealed.
Right, I've waited 30 years for this, and I don't want to wait any longer. I completely forgot that you actually got a little sachet of sauce inside the pot. I remember meticulously washing to make sure you didn't add too much water. For me, the real memory of pot noodles is the fact that there was this ritual, this process of making it yourself, and the process of actually seeing the soup come alive. That was part of the excitement of it. Yeah, the flavour certainly brings back memories, but nothing compared to the memories of the ritual. And for me, that is the magic that I have to try and capture in my starter. For me, this dish is all about the childlike wonderment of the noodles and soup coming alive in front of your very eyes. And the fact that you've got to do something, a little bit of work to make the magic happen, just makes it that much more special. So I've got an idea, and I thought, what better place to try it out than the most famous toy shop on the whole planet, Hamleys.
I want to see if I can push the magical ritual of making a pot noodle even further by having my guests actually make their own noodles as well. And I've got a schoolboy hunch that one of my favourite 70s toys might just help me to do that, a Play-Doh maker.
My theory is by using a couple of highly technical, very modern and refined Play-Doh tools, I could create some of my very own Play-Doh noodles, edible.
But my plan will only work if I can create a noodle dough with exactly the right consistency to go through the machine.
Well, basically, Play-Doh is a pasta dough. It contains flour, water, salt, and a few other bits, notably colourings and stuff like that.
So I'm going to try copying the actual recipe for Play-Doh, but leaving out any nasty additives so it's totally edible. To a 50% mixture of wheat flour and salt water, I add an ingredient called cream of tartar, and this will help give just the right consistency. Instead of artificial colouring, I'm using beetroot essence.
I think part of the whole development process is about being inquisitive. Even if some of the things you do might seem a little bit bizarre and a little bit strange, it's amazing how many ideas can come out of seemingly bizarre and surreal experiments. Now for the moment of truth. The question is, will these come out of this little fella's head?
Eureka! My improvised noodle maker seems to be working, and judging by the crowd, people are loving my schoolboy noodling. It's just the sense of fun I'm after for my dish. But what will my mad noodles actually taste like?
I hope it's the flavour of the texture. That is truly unpleasant. Truly, truly, truly unpleasant. That is actually really quite horrible.
Excitement.
Oh,
That's not good. It's not good, is it?
no. It tastes like paint.
In terms of taste, it's nowhere near there yet. But I do love the playfulness, and I think that's absolutely important and essential. And I've got to find a way to keep that essence in my starter. I want to give my guests the opportunity to make their own noodles. And the essence of this is certainly in the right direction.
So how to go about creating a pot noodle that has all the messy fun of making your own noodles, but also tastes wonderful.
OK, so here's how I'm going to do it. In here, I've got something called kombu. Kombu is a seaweed from Japan. This is kombu in its natural state. So what I've done here is put the kombu in deionized water, cooked it 65 degrees for 1 hour.
To my kombu infusion, I add dried tuna flakes and strain to form a broth known as dashi.
So now I'm going to use this to make my noodles. Noodles like you've never seen before.
I then add gelatin to form a gelid noodle dough.
So there's my dashi jelly.
My guests are going to use this jelly dough to make their own noodles at the table. And inspired by my Play-Doh experience at Hamleys, I've knocked up my own schoolboy noodle maker in woodwork class.
My guests are all going to get one of these, and they'll be able to make their own noodles at the table. It's not quite the bald-headed bloke that I used at Hamleys, but it's the same principle.
My diners will be instructed to plunge their noodles into a hot teapot and leave them there for 2 minutes. Then something special will happen.
So my magic dashi noodles are going to melt right in front of my guests' eyes and form the broth for my pot noodle starter. Here is pot heston. Now this is all very well, but you know, this is a feast. This isn't a snack lunch. This is a proper feast. So for that, I need a proper pot noodle. Now, bring on the big boys.
To go inside my giant pot heston, I've made more dashi gelid noodles, but these ones won't melt because I've set them with a heat-resistant gel.
Do you remember the puck of noodles that goes into the base of a pot noodle? This is my version of that.
I then add braised seaweed, cubed butter mushrooms, chicken thighs and fresh chervil.
So, I've got my magic noodles. I didn't want to stop there. I was inspired by the sachet of soy sauce I saw in the pot noodle factory. So I wanted to make my own sachet, but a magic one to go with magic noodles. So here is my sachet. But this has been made with edible cellophane.
Just like the original 70s version, I'm filling it with freeze-dried peas and sweet corn.
There's my magic sachet, but I'm a big kid, which means one is not enough. I want another one. So I've made another one. In here, I've got freeze-dried spring onion, sesame seeds, and the black bits are kombu. So here is my pot noodle. It's a pot noodle, but not as we know it.
Behold, the world's first pot heston, with tableside noodle maker, magical melting noodles, and edible sachets. So, time to see what my guests make of my gourmet pot noodle.
Pot heston.
Pot heston.
Oh, that is a great name.
This is a big pot noodle.
Cool, look at that.
Ah, look, here we are.
Oh, we've got some instructions.
Take the wooden box.
Take the wooden box and plunge the contents into the teapot.
It really is chemistry, his cooking, isn't it?
Chemistry.
It's amazing.
Here we go. Here we go. This is going to create the sauce.
I feel like a child. It's just fantastic.
That's brilliant.
So, my super-sized pot heston ritual has got my guests feeling like big kids. But what will they make of the taste?
Those noodles are divine. I wonder what they're made out of.
This is fantastic. I've never experienced this sort of mixture of taste before. Doubt if I ever will again, but it's just sublime.
It does hit the nostalgia button, and I quite like to now eat a genuine pot noodle rather than a Heston pot noodle and see what it tasted like.
Pot noodle didn't taste like this, I must tell you, Mike.
I wasn't doing pot noodles in the 70s, you know.
Just doing pot?
Yeah, just
My playful pot heston seems to have gone down a storm with my diners. But next I'm facing a culinary challenge unlike anything I've attempted before. Can I transform the dreaded 1970s school dinner into a dish worthy of my feast?
Oh, Heston, that was disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful.
I'm creating a once-in-a-lifetime 1970s feast, using the food memories of my own childhood as inspiration. I've already got my guests in the mood with my prankster retro lollies and given them a pot noodle experience like nothing seen before. But now I'm going all out with a main course that is to be the ultimate 70s schoolboy experience.
If you talk about food nostalgia, there's one type of meal from the 70s that made a bigger impression on me than any other in that whole decade. Not because I loved it, but because I absolutely hated it. And that was the dreaded school dinner.
The 1970s was the golden age of school dinners, before milk snatcher Maggie Thatcher brought an end to subsidised meals in 1980. 70s school meals were required to have 2 courses and supply 42% of a child's daily protein. If you were lucky, it was roast dinner, followed by jam sponge and pink custard. If you weren't so lucky, it was spam fritters, lumpy mash and gloopy tapioca pudding, known as frog spawn.
I still have nightmares about my school dinners. And in fact, I'm not even sure that it's possible to reinvent something that is truly that bad. But I'm going to give it my best shot.
It's certainly been a while, so before I can begin reinventing them, I need to remind myself of just how bad 1970s school dinners really were.
I've come to my old school, John Hampden, in High Wycombe. So the reason I'm coming here is I'm off to see the school dinner ladies in order to try and relive the nightmare of a horrendous 1970s school dinner.
But before I do, there's just time for a quick trip down memory lane.
This is the headmaster and deputy headmaster's offices, and I do remember a couple of times having to stand outside in this corridor. I'm not going to tell you why, but I do remember it. I will be here somewhere. Is that me there? I've got a full head of hair. I think I look quite well attired. I look quite well presented. And debonair.
But with the lunch bell ringing, it's time to once again enter my boyhood food hell.
Hello, ladies.
Hello.
School dinner ladies Jackie Wren and Maureen Buck usually serve up a variety of tasty modern dishes to hungry students. But today, they've agreed to take me back in time and help me recreate a genuine 70s school dinner.
So what's first on the menu?
Spam fritters.
It had to be, didn't it?
It had to be. Look at that.
It does look like cat food, doesn't it?
Yes.
It smells like it too.
Squeeze the tin.
Squeeze the tin, baby. Live the spam dream.
Yeah, let's go for it. How gross is that? Do you think we used to eat this at school, though?
God, it is so salty.
That is absolutely gross. That is grim. Sorry.
You did the last time, yeah?
Can't eat that.
So much for raw spam, but we want a fritter. So undeterred, we're pushing on with an authentic, lumpy school dinner batter.
Well, it kind of work for us. What do you think?
Because I don't have to eat them.
No.
Nah.
We won't torture you in that respect.
Only if you're really naughty, we'll give you one of them.
Yeah.
Or is that a promise?
Yeah?
Gluey enough.
Yeah, that's gluey enough.
I can't wait for lunch.
No. Hurry up, I'm starving. Oh, my word. You hungry?
Not for these, I'm not. Right, what's next then, chefs?
Lumpy mash.
How's that?
That is the right texture. Don't you think?
I think it's perfect. Just the right amount of lumps for me.
Yeah.
Enough to soak up all the fat on my soggy spam fritters.
Oh, yeah.
And to go with my spam fritter and the lumpy mash, the one thing that no 70s school dinner is complete without, mullered cabbage.
This cabbage is taking a long time to go brown.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just
Maybe
so
I
you-
haven't cooked it for enough days.
Yeah, you put that on in the wrong decade.
Yeah, I should have put it on at least 20 years ago.
Cabbage is falling apart, which means it's perfect. It's time to dish it up. And then you drain it, sort of. Okay, nice ice cream scoop full of mashed potato.
Would you say that one thing, Heston?
Not that I'm an expert on the doneness of a spam fritter, but they've been in for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
think
say they're done.
Are they soggy enough?
Yeah, they
Oh,
are.
yeah, they're soggy.
Oh,
They're really nice.
they are.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Right, so I think to get the real full school dinner experience, hats off, and we're going to sit in the dining room.
Lovely.
I can't take me out off.
Lumpy mash for me.
Oh, dear.
That's vile. Oh, Heston, that was disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful.
You haven't finished yet, you haven't had your cabbage.
Come on,
Come on, Heston, you've
there you
got
go.
to-
You have the
yeah.
biggest
I'm not
bit. I'll
finished
have the smallest bit. I'll have the crispy bit on the end. Come on,
This
Heston.
goes against my religion.
No, here you go. Come on. You know you want to. There you go. How's that
done.
for good mash?
I'm throwing in the towel.
You've got pudding to come yet. Come on.
I have got a challenge and a half on my hands. How on earth am I going to make spam fritters delicious? I've got absolutely no idea.
So, I somehow need to turn spam into a fantastic dish. But what exactly is spam? First launched in this country in 1941, the tin meat was an instant hit amongst the ration-weary Brits. Although it's been claimed the name spam stands for something posing as meat, it's actually a wordplay on the key ingredients in the recipe, pork and ham. As rationing ended, spam's popularity dwindled. But because it was cheap and full of protein, it was perfect for 70s school dinners. But I'm faced with a real problem. I want spam to be the focal point of my school dinner main course. Sorry, thank you. No one would have enjoyed that soggy fritter I cooked up at school. Sorry. So, I need to find a new way of preparing spam that makes it delicious.
For the next stage in my spam master plan, I've turned to this. The spam cookbook. Now, I couldn't believe actually that this was written, but there's some pretty serious stuff in here. Spam tortilla, spam Caesar salad, spam cheesecake. Now the recipe that really caught my eye is a very exotic sounding dish called spam slippers.
To cobble together my slippers, I bake and hollow out some nice leathery aubergines.
I think the next stage is basically the filling for the slippers. It's kind of like a spam and onion sock.
I add chopped onions, garlic, tomatoes, coriander, and a whopping tablespoon of paprika.
I can't believe that it's going to take that much. Now comes the most important step in this whole process. The magic ingredient, spam. That is spam-tastic.
And for the final groovy 70s touch, breadcrumbs and grated cheese. Right, time to taste.
It's actually really rather nice.
But what will the market-going meat connoisseurs around me think?
Do you like spam?
I love spam.
Right, so this is a spam slipper. It's straight out of the spam cookbook.
That's wicked, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's lovely, but I can't taste the spam.
I'm not allowed to eat that, I'm Jewish, mate.
Definitely tastes like tomato and stuff like that.
Yeah, and can you taste the spam much or no?
Not really, mate, to tell the truth.
It's very nice, but I can't taste the spam.
Surprisingly enough, that spam slipper recipe went down pretty well. But it was light because people couldn't actually taste the spam. They could taste all of the other ingredients that were masking the spam itself. For my feast, that's not going to work for me. I need to give my guests the memory of spam, but I've got to make the dish taste great. This course has been an almighty challenge to try and keep the essence of the spam fritter for my guests, but make something that's delicious. So, here's how I plan to do it. First step is the meat itself.
I'm going to make my own delicious version of spam from scratch. To a chilled mixture of seasoned pork shoulder and pata negra iberico ham, I add black truffle juice.
Talk about opposites. Housing truffles, housing the most expensive ham in the world in a spam fritter, to me seems pretty outrageous.
I then grind the mixture again.
There's one other thing I want to add now, and that's this mixture here, which is white port, red port, Madeira and brandy, reduced down to about a tablespoon of super concentrated syrup. Now, if this was in a tin, you'd be looking at somewhere between £75 and £100. That's cost price. I now need to make the fritter, and that means going back to school with a ruler.
My spam fritter's also going to have a little schoolboy surprise in store. Inspired by my watery veg experience, I've made a liquid centre of pea and cabbage puree with duck liver and, of course, more black truffles.
I would go back to school if I was going to get this for lunch.
I fill my spam box with the luxury school veg filling. Then comes the key step.
Now, you can't have a spam fritter without the fritter. And fritter means batter.
After coating in seasoned flour, I dip my spam into a light tempura batter made from flour, carbonated water and baking powder. Japanese panko breadcrumbs give a crunch a million miles away from the soggy 70s.
Here we go.
To accompany my fritter, I'm taking inspiration from that classic ice cream scoop of mash I had at school. But my mash scoop is also going to have a cheeky cabbage centre made by rolling a braised cabbage mixture in a thin strip of cured pork fat. And to really make my guests feel like kids again, I've got a little trick.
One of these, an oversized plate to be served with oversized cutlery.
And for the final touch, some lumpy school gravy, made from beef stock and pieces of bone marrow and served in a school milk bottle.
So there we are, my 1970s school dinner.
Iberico ham and black truffle luxury spam fritter, gourmet ice cream scoop of mash and lumpy bone marrow gravy. A 70s nightmare transformed into a gastronomic dream.
Glorious food.
Oh, yes.
It's dinner time. The dinner bell's going.
Go on then.
We want food, we want food.
God, I haven't done this for years.
Hi there.
Afternoon.
What you got today? Oh.
There we are.
Oh my goodness me, that is really cute.
Thank you. Yeah, oh, I got my milk.
Please, sir, I've got no forks and knives, sir.
The biggest knife and fork in the world.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I think the gravy's in the bottles.
Oh! Looking good.
My mouth is actually watering. This is just so good.
Look at this is. If you're going to have a knife and fork, have a knife and fork. This is sensational. We're taking all these home.
I feel like I'm really little, actually.
Oh, fantastic.
My word.
So tasty.
What's the meat?
Spiced pork and ham, I'll bet.
Is it something else as well?
Well, it's stuffed with something, stuffed with peas.
Yeah.
Oh, this is where the cabbage is, in the potato.
This is seriously good batter, though, too.
Oh, the batter
Yeah,
is...
this is unbelievable batter. How do you get this so good?
It is absolutely delicious. I love the mashed potato because it is actually like an organic smash. I'm in heaven.
I remember Spam from school dinners when I was a kid, and they were nothing like the Spam Fritter that I'm eating now.
Well, Heston spam is just out of this world. It is absolutely delicious. It really is lovely.
No words can come to mind to describe how fabulous that was. It was just something else.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
This main course was the riskiest dish for me, but what it seems to have done was taken them back to their childhood, back to their school days, and it's like eating Spam all over again, but this time, really enjoying it.
Spam was never like this.
This is probably the best spam I've ever had. As Monty Python said, spam, 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 spam.
So my 70s school dinner nightmare has been banished forever, with my guest demanding seconds. But now can I cap it all off with the world's first flying dessert? It's time for the spectacular finale of my retro 1970s feast. And if this doesn't send my guests straight back to their childhood, nothing will.
Forget proper food, stuff with real nutritional value. When you're a kid, the only things you're really interested in are sweets, chocolate, and, of course, pick and mix.
In the 1970s, one store ruled the high streets, Woolworths. And while Mum did the shopping, kids like me were mesmerised by the multicoloured pick and mix displays. From strawberry shrimps to gobstoppers, foam bananas to those wonderfully bizarre chewy fried eggs. This was the culinary treat I looked forward to more than any other. But there was one pick and mix sweet I remember above all others. 2 domes of pastel-coloured sugar paper stuck together and filled with sweet, tangy sherbet. Yes, this is the legendary flying saucer. So what better way to end my childhood feast than with my own homage to this unforgettable 70s sweet icon?
Had an idea. What if I could make a giant flying saucer to give to my guests? Could I then make them feel like kids again? There's only one way to find out.
To make a giant flying saucer, I first need a giant mould. Some massive balloons are just the ticket. If we can get them into the workshop, that is.
Go backwards.
I think this one's finished, Chef.
The next step is to try and coat this with an edible papier-mâché. So here, we've got some edible sugar paper.
I just need an edible glue to stick it together, and I've come up with a rather innovative solution.
So I thought if we melt them down and then try and cover the balloon in melted liquid flying saucer glue, what else would you do?
Perfect. With my edible glue ready, it's time to start making my giant flying saucer. After leaving the balloon to dry for 24 hours, we cut it in half. And as it's just a prototype, we're going to stick it together with tape. And for the finishing touch, some makeshift sherbet containing icing sugar and bicarb.
Yeah.
Just
as I thought. It's revolting.
My giant saucer not only tastes awful, but it looks like a prop from a low-budget B-movie. There's no way I can serve anything like this to my guests.
Well, this is my first attempt at making a giant flying saucer, and obviously it's not right. But looking at this now, it has shown me that I absolutely have to include a flying saucer in my dessert for my guests. So I need to take this idea and refine it quite a bit.
So, supersizing the saucer isn't the way to go. I need to think smaller and be far more ingenious.
My edible giant flying saucer was an unmitigating disaster. Just didn't work. But I didn't want to serve my dessert without some element of flying saucer in it. It's such an iconic sweet from the 70s. They've got to include it somehow. So, this is what I've decided to do. Make a flying saucer plate with cover. So the dessert's going to go on there.
To go inside my bowl, I'm going to create my own special versions of some other pick-and-mix classics.
And the first pick-and-mix sweet I'm going to do is, for me, the most iconic of the lot. It's the little fried egg, the chewy fried egg. But this is a fried egg with a difference.
For my egg white, I'm using fromage blanc, mixed with lychee juice and lychee essential oil.
Right, so here I've got a bowl with liquid nitrogen in it. It's like minus 197 degrees, so it's super cold. What I'm going to do now is make reverse fried eggs. I'm frying the eggs with coal.
For the egg yolk, I'm using a mango puree thickened with gelatine. My lychee and mango reverse fried egg will sit on my version of a coconut tea cake, made from caramelized brioche infused with rum and coconut milk.
I'm now going to make another pick-and-mix classic, the gobstopper.
I pipe a mixture of fromage blanc studded with a variety of sweet and bitter ingredients into a thin shell of coloured sugar glass.
OK, so there's my gobstopper's nearly finished. But I really wanted to accentuate that childlike excitement, that surprise, that element of fun. And there's one candy that does that more than any other I know. Is this popping candy. If that's not going to take them back to childhood, then nothing will do. So here is my fromage blanc, orange flower water, jasmine tea, lemon curd, orange zest, bergamot zest, popping candy, crystallized puff pastry and finger lime gobstopper.
And to complete the set, my own foam shrimp, made from rhubarb sorbet and frozen custard flocked with pink chocolate, and a pine-flavoured sherbet fountain.
There is my pick-and-mix inspired 1970s dessert served in a flying saucer. But there's one problem. You can't have a flying saucer without it flying. So this is going to perform a really important function.
I'm brushing the rotor blades of my flying saucer with distilled essence of the smell of a sweet shop.
The theory being that my guests' flying saucers are going to fly away, distributing a wonderful smell of the sweet shop and taking them straight back to their childhood.
So here it is, lychee and mango reverse fried egg, giant surprise gobstopper, rhubarb and custard shrimp, and sherbet fountain. A pick-and-mix dessert that's out of this world.
Yay!
answers. Excellent.
My word, look at this.
They are the best sweets in the world, aren't they?
There's got to be sherbet in here somewhere.
Oh, it's got gel. It's blowing up your dress.
I'm getting worried about this. I'm getting very worried.
Look at that.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. My word.
Mine worked perfect.
Oh, it smells just like it should. The whole room smells of sweet shop.
Oh, this is what I
it's a
love,
sherbet
the sherbet
dip.
fountains.
It's like those things that explode in your mouth.
I love sherbet fountains, and this is the best one I've ever tasted.
Lemon inside it's made with
That egg is lovely. Oh, it's popping in my mouth. Taste this one.
It's space dust. Do you remember space dust? Because I remember standing up. I remember waiting in the queue to go into school, and you'd put it on your tongue, and it would just explode. And then the teachers would come along, and they'd be like, "Take that out."
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I've got sherbet all around my hands and my mouth, and sticky lips and everything. I'm like a kid in a sweet shop, quite literally, like a kid in a sweet shop.
I think the era of the 70s was sex, drugs and rock and roll. And this dessert is sex, drugs and rock and roll on a plate.
Oh, so that was you that did that.
Everything about it was fun. And that's what the 70s was to me. It was fun all along the way. And it did actually take me back to the 70s.
Today really did take me back to my childhood. I was suddenly having all these memories. It was just incredible. It was so clever. It was amazing to eat as well.
You know, he is this mad scientist and he's a mad artist, and the two of them together just make perfection.
So I wanted my guests to get the same excitement out of this feast as I got from my memories of the 70s. And I think I've managed to bring my 1970s back to life.
Heston rockin'.
Loads of money!
Potato waffle!
That really just showed what a toasty could be.
Seal that deal.
Oh, it's hovering!
Oh my God, there's no knocks!
I officially love the 80s.
Jamie Oliver is in Venice tomorrow at 9, making the perfect Venetian tiramisu. Next tonight on 4, though, dirty little secrets are out of the box in Shameless.